everybody for joining me. I absolutely love doing these webinars. And so I can get a little bit of a temperature of kind of where everybody's from. Go ahead and just throw it in that chat box. Where are you from and how many years have you been in business? Let's go ahead and type it out in there. Let me know where you guys are from. I see Texas, Maryland, there's Houston, another one in Texas. This is awesome. Maryland Newbie, 2 years, Calgary, love Canada. It's very cold up there. Last time I went to Canada, as I was blinking, my eyes, they were freezing and they were getting stuck before I could open and shut them. It was the coldest I'd ever been in my entire life. So welcome to the webinar. So like I said, my name is Shell Brodnax. We're going to cover some questions that get sent in ahead of time. And as I'm going through each question, if anybody has a question about the question that I'm talking about, please throw it in that chat box. I'm going to be looking to the chat box to answer any questions that you have. And at the very end, I'll open it up again for questions that I did not cover. Now, some things about the webinar, the way that I might answer you might be a little different than typical people. They might answer a question a certain way. So I might ask a question back to you to kind of get everybody to think about looking at the question from a different perspective. And it's just kind of a way to jog your brain out of the way a question was asked. And when I see that come across, I will definitely point it out. But I'm a Tony Robbins, Anthony Robbins certified coach. So I know Anthony Robbins does that. It's something that I've picked up from doing that training as well. So I will often pose a question back to you and see where we can go. Nicole, this is great. I've seen Nicole Runkle here. She's been on 2 of my shows today. So thank you for coming back. I really appreciate it. So let's just talk about the first slide here. I'll just go question by question. And again, if you have questions as I'm going, please throw them in. I love for these to be interactive. So here's the first question. What's the benefit of having your own furniture for staging versus renting? Second question to this was, what would you recommend to someone just starting out in the business to use as staging furniture and decor, rental furniture, or invest in an inventory? So there's really a lot of ways to be able to answer this question. So there's so many benefits to having your own furniture. Number one benefit is that you make the rental income from the furniture instead of the rental furniture company. Now, that's not to say that we don't love our rental furniture partners. We absolutely do. And there's so many people that use them, and it's a perfect business model. However, if you're getting to a point into your business where you think, I'm looking at your P&L at the end of the year, and you think, wow, I've given, XYZ furniture rental company $200,000 in leases that year, perhaps you might want to look at owning your own inventory. So that's one of those situations where you just want to kind of figure out what kind of business model is it that you have, because some for renting the furniture, it works beautifully. So if it's working and you're not wanting to expand, then stick with it if it's working. Is it absolutely necessary to have business insurance? If so, what kind? This is a great question. And I will say absolutely it's necessary to have business insurance. Here's why. Picture this. You're staging beautiful home and it's semi-occupied. So there's certain things in the house that you're going to use of the homeowners. Maybe there's certain things you're going to bring in. But let's just say one of those certain things that's already in the home that you want to use is a nice baby grand piano. And the backyard is this gorgeous, beautiful backyard. And they have these gorgeous bay windows. And let's just say you needed to move that piano for just a minute. So you move that, but it's got wheels on it. And guess what happens? That floor is slick and you send it flying straight through the plate glass window. You need to be insured. Or if you're moving in, you're moving furniture in and you scratch somebody's hardwood floors. Or if you are moving in and you're moving things around corners and you ding their walls. Now, a ding on the wall is something you'd probably fix on your own. You wouldn't file an insurance claim. But if you come in and you do something completely tragic and it wrecks their home, you absolutely don't want to have to be personally responsible for that. So there's a few things that you can do. Number one, I think, Jill, you're saying you lost video. If anybody has lost video or you lose hearing, just log back in. So let me type this real quick for everybody, for those that didn't hear me. Log back in if you lose video or audio. Okay, so with this, there's a few different things that you want to know about with insurance. And Jill, yes, you absolutely have to have insurance if you are an LLC. An LLC just means that you're limited in your liability. It doesn't mean that somebody still can't sue you. It just means that you're limiting the scope of your exposure. So you absolutely need to have insurance. It's the difference between operating as a hobbyist and operating as a professional. So you definitely want to get that. But I'm going to talk to you about a few different things. Now, first of all, there's your general liability insurance. We work with an insurance partner called Villanova Insurance Partners. This is formerly known as PenX Insurance, Peninsula Excess Insurance. Now, if anybody has them, they're fantastic. Judy Phobes is the broker, and I've been working with Judy for about a decade. She has written more staging policies than any other broker on the entire planet. And that's because she's done this program through RESA. And it is only because of her partnership with RESA that all stagers have access to insurance, because 15 years ago, they weren't writing the policies. It was very few and far between where you get somebody to actually understand the business, because nobody really fit into a category. Was it design? Was it real estate? You know, the brokers really didn't know where to lump all the stagers. So now that's not a problem. So definitely, if you are a RESA member, you have access to a discounted rate or a preferred rate through Villanova, and you want to reach out to them. We also have a new program that we're getting ready to launch. I'm just going to touch on it, but it's called RESA Sure. And this is also through Villanova. But the great thing about this program is that you get the RESA Sure program for a discounted rate, where other people get a similar program, but it's a different name. This is our brand. They'll get a similar program where you get an attorney to actually review your contracts, or they'll write a contract for you for just one fee for the year. And it's very low fee, under $200, if you can believe that. So I've negotiated this deal with this company to be able to bring this product to our members. So not only do you get discounted insurance there, it's a whole risk management program. And they will guide you through everything it is that you need to know. And they have a great attorney on staff. His name is Joe Denneler, and Joe's actually going to be speaking at RESACon in July. So you'll definitely want to hit up his session while you're there. Now, the other program that we have is called SRM Staging Policy. It's Staging Risk Management. So I want you to picture this. Let's say you have your own liability insurance, because you all should. Fantastic, you have it. But now you've just put $18,000 worth of furniture into a stage. And those homeowners say, hey, I have homeowners insurance. It will cover your inventory in my home. Sounds good at first bite, right? But in reality, that may not be the case. So here's what can happen. Number one, let's say there's a fire, there's a flood, people break in, and they spray paint, red spray paint, over every single stick of furniture that you own. Why should you, the stager, have to take the hit on your insurance policy when your inventory was out of your care, custody, and control, right? Makes sense now, right? Because you figure that $18,000 claim, what's going to happen? Has anybody ever filed for an insurance claim of any kind? What happens? Sometimes they don't renew you. Other times they're going to jack up your insurance rates. Typical increase of your insurance rate is on average is about 3 years. So if you have an auto accident, you file that claim, they're going to increase your rate for the next 3 years until everything drops off, and then you can go back to regular pricing. This is the same thing. But in addition to that, a lot of times the homeowner's insurance policy is not going to cover the inventory that's in the home because they don't own it. Why are they going? They're not going to cover something that they don't own. And then the biggest thing that people don't understand, and this is going to blow your mind, everybody, is that when you have somebody's home and it's vacant and they're not living in it, and you've staged it and you've brought everything in, the typical insurance policy no longer covers the contents of the inside of that home once that property has not been lived in for 30 to 60 days. Some policies are 30 days. Some give a little bit more latitude of 60 days. So picture this. You decide you want to stage your home and you move cross country. So nobody's living in that particular property right there. And you've got it staged and it's beautiful. And then that homeowner has a flood. and the whole house floods, causes, I don't know, $40,000 worth of damage, let's just say. Now, that homeowner should be responsible for your inventory should it get damaged. However, if you take out the SRM policy on every one of your stages, because it's a policy that you do individually per project, that could be covered. So this story actually happened to me. So my stager's actually on the line here, Nicole. She staged my home for me when I left California. And I think it was 7 days into it, the house flooded. And now, of course, I purchased the SRM policy as the client. So Nicole offers this to all of her clients and wrote that into the bid. And I opted to take it. Had I not taken it and the flood would have damaged her furniture, I would have been out $18,000 because I would have had to pay Nicole back for everything it was that was damaged. So if it was a fire and it was all taken out, 18 grand, there you go. It's one and done, and you're toast as a seller. So you want to do these things to be able to help your sellers out. And you just also don't want to assume the risk as well. So the SRM policy is something that I worked with somebody on. It took me many, many years to get this going, and we're super proud of it, but it needs to be used. If it's not used, it could go away. So for example, if you have up to $30,000 worth of inventory at home, you can buy this policy for $300. If you have up to $20,000, I believe it's $250, and up to $10,000, I think it's $150 or $180. So you can find all this information on the RESA website. It's definitely worth looking into. Now, this is not something that you exchange instead of your liability. This is in addition to, and what you should do is put it in your contract that states, here's a insurance policy that the homeowner can take out. This is how much inventory we get in. This is the additional fee. Does the homeowner want it? Do they not? If they check no, they don't want it in your contract, then you have language in that says they're assuming all risk and liability for your inventory. No matter what happens to it in that home, they're going to be liable for it. So check out all three of these programs. They are amazing programs to have. Next question, what are some low-cost wholesale vendors that carry good quality furnishings? This is a great question. So RESA has a buying group. If anybody's not familiar with a buying group, what this is that we barter or negotiate. I negotiate with wholesale furniture providers, and I ask them to give our members an additional discount off of wholesale. That's right, you heard it, additional off of wholesale. So if a sofa retails for $1,000 and you can buy it wholesale on your own, walking into any one of our vendors, if you just went on your own and you weren't a RESA member, you might pick up that sofa for $600. But what if you could get it for $400 or $450? So our buying group vendors are going to give all the RESA members an additional discount off of wholesale. Now we have regular, big furniture, the sofas, the chairs, the tables, and then you also have all your box goods, your case goods, so all your accessories and your decor. So check it out, resabuyinggroup.com. You can also get it from the main RESA website. Now to buy wholesale, you need a resale license. I think there's a question coming up in a few slides about that. If it's not, I'll circle back around at the end. So here's a good one. What does RESA do and how do you benefit? Well, this is something I could probably talk about all day long. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this because I want people to go to the website and really check us out. But essentially, RESA is a not-for-profit trade association. So what that means is we're set up with the same business structure as the National Association of Realtors. So as you would know, nobody owns NAR. There is no owner. There's no one owner. The CEO doesn't own the company. I'm the CEO of RESA and I do not own the company. I work for you. I report to a board of directors. So that's a little bit about RESA. And what we do is we're a trade association. So our goals and our missions is to make the staging industry better, stronger, and united. So we provide access to products and services and opportunities for our members to enhance and enrich your businesses and also raise legitimacy in the staging industry as a whole. So we do so many things in order to do that. We have an MCE class where we have RESA approved instructors teach a 3-hour class to real estate agents, teaches them about staging, why it's important, how to communicate it to the clients. It does not teach them how to stage. We would never condone that. But that's an opportunity for RESA members to join into. So that's something that RESA does to educate real estate agents across the board. We have annual conventions. We have webinars like these. We work with training providers. We actually accredit the training providers. We had situation several years ago in the industry where a new training provider came into our industry and they ripped off thousands of people. And it is, when I say thousands, I'm not joking. We were inundated with phone call after phone call of people just getting ripped off. And I thought to myself, what can we do as a public service to try to prevent this? So we launched an accreditation program. So I researched the U.S. Department of Education's post-collegiate secondary schooling systems, how they accredit providers. And I mimicked that system and worked it in for us. So you will find a lot of accredited training providers on our website. These are the ones that we've accredited. We've reviewed their programs, their policies, their procedures. It's a big deal to be able to get the accreditation because not everybody gets it. So it's a little bit about RESA. How you benefit as the members, you get to sit in on things like this because we don't charge for it. It's a service for our members. We also have chapters that you can get involved with, and there's just so many benefits. The list goes on. So in addition to discounts and things like that, we have them. Not the reason to be part of it. Being part of your trade association and belonging to your industry's trade association is about legitimacy and credibility. So real estate agents, they all join their local association of realtors, right? This is no different. They speak the language of trade associations, and this is what we offer to our members as well. So how do you become successful at home staging? Well, this is a really loaded question. So everything. You got to do everything. The most important thing I think that when I'm coaching stagers that I notice is that stagers sometimes don't take it seriously. Somebody that's newer into the industry, they treat it more like a hobby than a full-time job. It's definitely a full-time job. So in order to become successful, you have to look at every aspect of your business and make sure that you're doing everything possibly correct as you possibly can. When you make a mistake, you got to figure out a way to fix it. When you do something that's not right or didn't work, you've got to solve that problem for the next time. So you're always doing what we call an autopsy. What went well? What didn't go well? What do you need to change for next time? Do that on all your projects for a while, and you just keep at it. The biggest thing, what happens with people and all entrepreneurs as well, just not stagers, is that they quit. They give up. And they give up just right before they're probably going to make it, but they're never going to know because they give up. So it's about having a great business plan. Don't wing it. Make everything a strategy from beginning to end. Plan your year out and your goals from the very beginning of the year, and then check in weekly, monthly, quarterly, every 6 months, at the end of the year. Always pushing to be able to hit your goals, reviewing your product, your services, your programs, everything it is that you're doing. You always want to review it and then make adjustments as you go. So here's another question. In February, I launched my home staging business. I'm excited and ready to get started, but would like to know the best ways for me to market your staging business. All of them. All of them are the best ways. So there's not just one magic cookie for this. You know what I mean? You've got to do everything. So you need to build your brand. So I just did a show earlier today, a Stager Talk show with Judy Weber. She's going to speak at RESACon about branding. You've got to build your brand. You've got to figure out who you are and who do you want to be and what do you want that to look like to the public. So branding is number one, figuring that out. And when I say a brand, I just don't mean your color scheme and your logos. That's not what a brand is anymore. It's your policies. It's your procedures. It's what you stand for. It's how you do your work. It's how you handle your customers. It's everything that you want to do with your business. So you need to figure that out. And you need to write down your goals to be able to get that done as well. Now, when you're starting out with your staging business, you need to have a great website. So one of the biggest mistakes, number one mistake I would say that most stagers make when they're brand new is they don't invest in a great website from day one. Here's why it's bad. You have one chance to make a great first impression. I think everybody agrees with that. So if you launch a website that's not stellar and people say, this is what they all say, I'll do it in a year when I've made some money. Worst line ever. Worst line ever. And I will call anybody out on it because now what's going to happen? You're going to wait a year. You might have a little bit of money. You do that website. Now everybody else you've touched in the last 12 months, you've got to reach out again and you've got to get them to see your new website. And so it's re-educating people. So you don't want to do that. You want to hit everybody right between the eyes the best way possible and represent yourself in the best possible light. So your website needs to be an investment. If you are not a techie person, do not go out and get a GoDaddy website template or Squarespace or anything along those lines. You're going to spend a lot more of your time being frustrated, and not understanding how it all works and put it all together than you would if you would have just paid somebody to do it in the first place. So make that investment into your website. The other things that you want to do is, again, your great logo, build that brand. There's a great website called 48 Hours, and I'm going to type it in here in the chat box, 48 Hours with an S, logo.com. So there are, I use this website from time to time. I do design logos, but when I don't have time, or I just, want it to be extra special, something better than what I can do, is I go here and I start a logo contest. And I pay about $200, and then you're going to get anywhere from, 10, 20, 30 graphic artists working on that particular logo. You give feedback, they make changes, you give more feedback, you can run the contest. I run it for 7 days. And during that 7 days, if you find the one that you like, you choose it, and then you work with that one graphic artist to wrap it up. So you want to have a great logo, great brand, great website. You need to figure out your policies and procedures as well before you even start to market to anybody. The other things that I want you to consider doing is networking. I think getting involved is great, but here's the thing. Sometimes it's a square peg, round hole. So there are stagers out there that absolutely do not enjoy the networking. They don't want to go to the local association of realtors, join as an affiliate, and start attending their meetings. Square peg, round hole. So for those types of people, they are going to market a different way. Some of them they do heavy website marketing. They will probably invest in Google ads. Personally, if I was just starting out, I would go the networking route. And you just want to go to their events, and you don't want to shove yourself down real estate agents' throats. You really just want to go and just blend in. If you're there and it's, hire me, can I take you to lunch? Can I chat with you? Let me tell you what I can do for you. They get hit up with that all day long. What I find is a little bit better is to be more elusive. So you always know that saying, something that you think you can't have, that's what everybody wants. So that one person that you really want to date and they're not giving you the time of day, that's the one that you want more than anybody else in the world. You could probably have anybody else, but the one that's ignoring you, that's the one that you want. So on the same side of that is if you're in there and it's like, let me talk to you, let me do this, let me do that, it's a little bit thirsty. So it comes off as a little bit desperate. So if you just go in and be you, be low key, be a little bit elusive, be interesting, be intriguing. They're going to want to know about you. Now then, when they ask you what it is that you do, that's when you can hit them with some great information. So networking is great. And then there's other ways that you can market directly to homeowners. You can search in any of the type of websites that have listings. For example, Redfin is a really good website. And you can go to Redfin and you can query a neighborhood that you would like to be staging in. So you can put in a zip code, you could do a radius search, and it's going to spit out all the listings. And I would go through all those listings online, look for anything. If you're a vacant stager, look at everything that's vacant in the price point of the homes that you want to be staging, and then create an amazing flyer for those homes. And on that flyer, you want to speak to these people's pain. So you can even say, show me everything in this zip code that's been on the market for more than 90 days. So that's going to spit out all your information. It gets it into an Excel spreadsheet. You should download that. And you want to add some columns to that spreadsheet of your contacts. So first contact, second contact, third, fourth, and you can send them this beautiful flyer. So it's got to be a magazine quality flyer. And it needs to say something along the lines of, has your home been on the market for more than 90 days with no offers? We can help. We just staged this property in this neighborhood and it sold for whatever the claim to fame is. It sold for full price. It sold in 4 days and 10,000 over list price. Whatever that claim to fame is, put it on that particular flyer. Call us today. We can help. Stick it in a plain envelope. If you have it branded, an envelope that's branded to you, I apologize, you can have that on there, but handwrite the envelope and then snail mail it to them. Just snail mail it to that particular property. And that's a good way to be able to market to homeowners. You can also do workshops, homeowners workshops, a DIY. Come learn how to stage your home on your own. So if you do a consultation where you're going to teach somebody everything it is that they can do to stage the home on their own, if it's an occupied listing, why not do it for several people at once? So if you have a warehouse or if you have meeting space, you can actually conduct a DIY workshop and market that way. So that's a few ways that you can market. There's lots of other things that you can do, but get involved. The biggest thing is that you want to go out and you want to get yourself exposure. So you want to just be in as many places as you possibly can. So how do you share vacant home stagings in terms of pricing? So this is something that nobody's going to love my answer. It's super simple. Cost plus what your time is worth. That's what it boils down to. But people get hung up on a method of determining your price. So some people say, do I price it by the square foot? Do I price it by the room? Do I make package deals? Yes, 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 maybe, no. It just really depends on you. So what you need to do, just to really not sugarcoat it, what does it cost you to do the job? And then how much money do you need to make to be able to turn a profit? So you figure out every single cost, all your inventory that you're putting into it, if you're paying for that. Your delivery fee, if you have to cover that. Gas to get there, if you have to pay assistance. Every single expense that you're going to have in that project, it needs to be covered by your client, and then just tag on. So if you know at the end of that, if you've added it all up, and then you need $1,000 on top of that in order to turn the profit, your staging fee is $1,000. So everything's just very dependent on how much it is that you need in order to make it worth it to leave your driveway that day. So that's kind of a way to think of it. How you determine the pricing, I don't feel is important. People do it different ways. You just really need to figure out what it does, what it costs for you. We got a couple questions on the side that I'm just going to jump to right now so we don't lose them. It's my opinion on taglines. Have tons of great quotes and stats, but can't cut a tagline down to make it 3 to 5 words. How important is that parameter? I actually think it's important, Pam. Here's the thing about taglines. To create a tagline, create a paragraph of exactly what it is that you do. And then start reducing that paragraph down to the most important things. So your paragraph could start out with, you know, I'm going to use just random words that come to my brain. Hopefully they'll make sense. I work with homeowners in order to stage their properties so they can move on to their next phase in life quickly. So great. So you might reduce that down a couple times, and the end tagline might be, I help homeowners sell their homes quickly. It might be something as simple as that. So start out with something big so you can just see the words and type it out on your computer or handwrite it so you can actually visualize the words and then start reducing it down. But I think they are important. Just don't want to use somebody else's tagline. Jill's asking, what's the best? Jill, you were on my Stager Talk earlier today. Thanks for coming back. What is the best method for the walk-in talk? So Jill, can you expand on that? I'm not sure what for sure you mean by the best method. So let me explain what a walk-in talk is. Simply put, it's a consultation for the homeowner, typically occupied home, where the stager comes in. They walk through room by room, and they advise the homeowner what they can do in order to stage the property on their own. Now, the key thing for making this work is that the homeowner takes the notes. You give all the feedback. Sometimes stagers don't give everything, and then they've said to me, you know, I'm doing this walk and talk, but I can never get the upsell. And I don't tell them everything because I want them to hire me. And I say, oh my God, don't do that. Because why would they hire you if they paid you money already and you didn't give them everything, especially when they were expecting everything? So it's one of those things that with the walk and talk, you want to give them every single thing it is that they can do to stage the property on their own. And if it overloads them, killer. That's what it is. You want them to be able to get everything it is that they need. And then at that point, if they say, okay, I'm overwhelmed, just what would it be for you to come in and I just need to write a check. How much is that? Then you can give them a bid for you to do it. And then usually with that, you do some sort of blended service where you give them all the pre-staging instructions, which is typically a lot of what you've suggested to them in the walk and talk. So you're going to have them pack up their tchotchkes and their china and anything it is that you're not going to use. Have them deal with those types of things, because you can word it to them that they're not going to want to pay you your hourly rate, which would be exorbitant if you were going to have to come in and pack up somebody's china. Plus, you don't want the liability of having to break something. So in that aspect, you want to be able to give them everything. And then hopefully if they turn it into a full stage, fantastic. But if they didn't, that's okay too. I don't understand why a lot of stagers, they always want that full stage. But if you go in on a consult and you've been paid, it's down and dirty. You're in and out. You've got relatively very little overhead for a consult. So I do believe you should bring some marketing information. You should have a branded binder. It should have information in there, a checklist, a moving checklist. RESA actually offers one through the consumer guide. You can print that out. All your information, maybe some blog articles that you've written, some before and after photos. Just have a nice little binder so they feel like they're getting something from you in addition to the knowledge that you've given them. So Jill's saying that she feels awkward telling them to take the notes. Don't feel awkward. It's done every single day of the week. It's completely standard in the industry. There's nothing wrong with it. And if they don't take the notes, they're not going to remember what it is that you are telling them. Now, 15 years ago in the industry, people used to do written reports, and this is the way that it would work. Even 15 years ago, they charged somebody maybe $300 for a report. They drive there, they look at everything, they take photos, they come back home, and then they sit there for the next 7 hours looking at photos and writing a narrative of what to do in each room. And by that time, they've made maybe 50 cents an hour. So it's not really cost effective to be able to do that. It's not a good return on your investment as a stager to do it written. So Jill, let the awkwardness go out there, tell them to take those notes, and everything will work out. So what kind of forms do you leave with clients after your walkthrough of the house? So when you mean a walkthrough, if you mean a real consultation, I'm not sure who asked this question, but like I said, I would leave some handouts with them. So get your binder that's got little sleeves in it, I guess is what you call it, where you can just stick information, print out information about you. If you've won an award, take your press release and put it in there. If you've done press releases on anything, put copies of that in there. Before and after examples, top 10 tips to stage, how to live in a staged home. You know, any type of data and information that you can leave with them is what I would recommend that you leave with them. So after my site is built, business registered, what's the best way to start getting paying clients? Great question. You've got to go out there and you've got to mingle. Again, I think networking is probably the #1 way for stagers to be able to get business. You've just got to go out there and hit that pavement and get them to go out and mingle as much as is that you can. Ask for referrals. Every job that you do get, once you are done with that job and you know that they're happy, here's the thing that in asking for a testimonial, which is going to help you. Let's say you've staged the home. The homeowner calls you and says, oh my God, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. This was beyond, you made it so easy. It's everything that I expected. Oh my gosh, can I quote you on that? I would love to use that as a testimonial. And they're going to say, yes, of course you can. Now just take their words, write them down, and put them on your website with their name. They've already given you permission. But a lot of times what people do is they get a staging done. Somebody says it was great. And they say, great, can you leave me a testimonial? And they say, I'll email you. And then it never gets done. The other ways that you can get them is you can write it for them based on what they've told you, send it back to them, and then say, hey, great, this was lovely. I'll use this on my website, but here's the link to Yelp, my Yelp page. Here's the link to my Google reviews. Would you mind posting one? And get them to do it that way as well. So then once you get that under your belt, then you can use that to go get your next paying client. So it's one of those things you just want to network. You want to gather your testimonials. Do you pay for networking events? Pay to go? Yeah, a lot of times they have a fee. So a lot of times a networking event might be a luncheon. So of course you're going to go pay your $35 to get in the door. You get to sit down with people, eat lunch with them, and mingle. So for sure, definitely, they're very, very, very much worth it. I love the networking events. And you hand them a checklist and a notebook. I would tell them to be prepared ahead of time. Tell them just grab a notebook because they're going to take notes during the consultation. And checklist, you can have checklists as a leave behind as well. Is it important to build your inventory prior to having any customers? I would say it is only important if you are planning on doing vacant stagings only and you're using your own inventory. So therefore it would be vital because you couldn't do the job. But if you want to start out and you're wanting to start out slow, I don't want stagers to think, if you're new in the industry, to think that you have to go out and spend $100,000 on inventory. Now, could you? For sure. If you've got a great business plan and you can sell, that might be the way to go. Not the way most people go. Most people start out slow. So you're going to buy some inventory as far as accessories. This is the typical life cycle of the stager when they get going. They start out, they buy some accessories. So you're usually buying those retail, so at Home Goods, Target, places like that. And then you go out and you start doing some consultations, and then you pick up an occupied, and then all of a sudden someone's going to call you for a vacant, and then you're probably going to rent furniture for a while and then use your own accessories from buying accessories and bring them in. And then after a while of doing that, you're going to need to get warehouse space, and then you're probably going to go into a storage unit, which are very costly. And then from that, you're going to go out of that and go into a warehouse. And then from that warehouse, the month after you move in, you're going to say, I should have gotten twice as big in this warehouse. And after a while that, you're going to probably grow into another one. So it's typical of how it is that people get started. But you can absolutely make a very lucrative business by just doing occupieds and doing consultations. So if you're just starting out, go ahead and do that. What's the line you find yourself using over and over to convince people to invest in home staging? This is a fantastic question. And it's not so fantastic because I'm going to give you a line, but I want you to think of it a little bit differently. It's everything. It's your confidence. And the word convince. If you're really having to, beat someone over the head with it, they're probably not your ideal client. So I want you guys to think about that. And don't be afraid to walk away from people that are not believers. So it's one thing to go and say, have a couple good catchphrases. You can certainly have those. Staging is less expensive than your first price reduction. But here's the thing. If you use a lot of those one and done sayings with people, that's really all it sounds like. It sounds like you're just regurgitating one-liners at people, and it doesn't come off very sincere. So it's the whole ball of wax. It's your entire persona. So the way that I recommend that people talk about staging is this, because I'm sure we've all done it. I know it happens to me quite often. You're really excited with, like myself, my husband. I'm excited about something. I talk to him and I'm super excited and I'm just going on and on and on. And I'm so jazzed about it. And I've got so much passion that I'm talking about it. His eyes start to roll up in the back of his head. When you can get there with a potential client, you will likely sign them because you're speaking from passion, and passion breeds confidence. And that's the number one thing in order to sell and to get people to invest in home staging is you delivering that information with confidence. It's all you got to do. And don't be afraid to walk away, and don't be afraid to say no, and don't come down on your price. When people talk to you about your price is your price is your price. And I want you to think of it like this. When you go to McDonald's and you go through the drive-thru and they say, that's $2.10, please. Nobody questions that because the drive-thru person is saying, absolutely, this is the price. And they say it like nobody's going to reject them. And that's the way that you want to say that to people, is you're just going to quote what your fee is. If they ask you, I've got another stager that can do that for $4,000 less, then I would make a joke out of it and say, oh my goodness, if that stager can give you the quality that we're giving for $4,000 less, you should take it. And you leave it at that and you don't say another word, because first of all, they're either not telling the truth or they're fudging a bit. And in addition, if it's a $4,000 price difference, you're probably not comparing apples to apples, because in reality, you can't be using the quality of product that you would probably be using if there's that vast of a difference. So let's go over back here to the side system chat questions. What's the best way or program that you use to get email addresses? I don't. I would never do that, and I don't recommend that you spam people. There's spam laws in the US and in Canada. So just to get, a database full of emails and just to start, plugging them into your email like Constant Contact, Constant Contact makes you sign off that you actually have permission to email people. So you couldn't do that with them, or if you did, you get your account shut down. So that's not the way that I would recommend that you go. But if you're wanting just to get email addresses of, a few people at a time, that's different. Go to their website. So if you're wanting to email a real estate agent, you're going to go to their website. But you might want to make a phone call instead of an email. How or well do you find a warehouse? Storage units are easy, but expensive. They are. A commercial real estate agent, Jill. Look out for commercial real estate agents. Use Outlook to gather email addresses. What do you recommend? Nope. Outlook is an email program that you use to send email. It is not one to gather email addresses, but you would gather them, maybe put them in your address book on there. So I actually use Gmail. I actually prefer Outlook, but my staff outvoted me. Yeah, so much for democracy, right? They outvoted me and we are now all using Gmail, but it's working great for everybody, but I actually prefer Outlook. Next question, LLC versus sole proprietary. It's actually sole proprietor. And this is a personal preference. So with this, I'm just going to give you a rundown of the difference of LLCs, corporations, and sole proprietors. So when you're a sole proprietor, it's just you. It's just your own little individual business. There's no corporate structure. Everything's passed through you into your personal tax return. An LLC or a corporation, either an S corp or a C corp, those can get passed down to you through your taxes through what's called a Schedule K. So I know all this is lots of legal language here. Contact your CPA, get a CPA when you're deciding what it is that you're wanting to do. When you're a sole proprietor, somebody can also sue you directly. When you're an LLC, you're limited in your liability with that lawsuit. So if you have an LLC, somebody may still sue you, but you are personally liable for less as you would be if you were a sole proprietor. So it's really got to do with your business structure and your taxes and the situation that you want to be in. And depending on the state in which you live, just to have the honor of calling yourself an LLC or a corporation, you are going to pay corporate tax to that particular state, depending on where you're at. So if you're in California, if you're an LLC or a corporation, it's $800 a year that you are going to pay no matter what. Even if you have tax deductions, you're always going to pay that. So check with your CPA. What is the best way to market yourself as a stager if you don't have a lot of experience? Social media, networking, etc. All of it. Your experience level has nothing to do with the way that you market. So social media, networking events, just all of it. Social media is great, something we haven't touched on, but every time you stage a home, after it's fully staged, I wouldn't put the before photos up before it's sold, but the after photos, absolutely. And you don't want to put the before photos up before it's staged, because think about it this way. If your responsibility is to your homeowner and that you want them to have the best chance that they can of getting their home sold and getting sold for top dollar. If the before photos of their home were not great, meaning there was a lot of clutter or things were broken and chipped and damaged or dirty, or, it was just a train wreck, whatever it may be, they're not flattering. You don't want to show that while it's on the market, because a potential buyer could see that and they could say, ooh, I don't really want that. Ooh, it's cleaned up now, but ooh, what else was going on there that I'm not going to necessarily know about? So it's a best practice not to do that, but the after photos, get them professionally shot, put them all out on social media. We just staged this great listing in whatever your town is. Check it out. Here are the photos. Always do that. I think it's amazing to do that. Also, social media marketing articles, right? Blog articles. So you post them on your website and then you post the link to that website blog article on your social media and you share it as well. Then as you start to develop more and more articles, you can actually go out and ask to be a guest blogger someplace. Any real estate agent that you work with, send them articles to put into their newsletters. Ask your real estate agent for a staging corner in their real estate newsletter and ask to write for that and give tips. So again, it's not going to be hire me, but it's going to be how to live in a staged home, how to make a bed properly. And you can do a little video tutorial on that. How to, make your nice towels nice and fluffy and bright in your bathroom. It doesn't always have to be about moving. It could also be about design, color, aesthetics, anything along those lines. Anything that's of an educational value, that's kind of like HGTV-ish, that a consumer, a homeowner, is going to want to read about. It could even be, it could be just anything, any type of subject that you want to write about that has an HGTV vibe to it, do it and get it into a newsletter. How do you find out what your competitors charge without being deceitful? Call them and ask them, and don't be deceitful. Super, super easy question. Call them. You might not want to call the one that's immediately in your neck of the woods, but maybe the town over, that if they're not staging in your area, go to a RESA chapter meeting, ask people, and come from the perspective of, I'm new to the industry, I love what I'm wanting doing, and I don't want to devalue, I don't want to dilute, and I don't want to be underbidding just to get a job. So any range that you can give me, I would really appreciate it, because I want to be competitive in what it is that I'm doing. Now, here's the thing about underbidding that I want you to think about. Do you really want to get the job because somebody's tagged you as the low price leader? Or do you want to get the job based on fair and equitable competition, meaning that you got the job, you and another stager bid the job, you both had the same bid of $5,000. However, you won the job for whatever reason. That client vibed with you a little bit more. Maybe they saw on your website that you had a German Shepherd, or you loved cats, or you had horses, or whatever it may be, and they identified with you. Or you just did a better job at selling it. Whatever the reason is, you want to make sure that you got that job because you were the right stager, not because you were the cheap stager. How do you get your foot in the door with real estate agents who already use stagers, but they're not that good? Here's one of those Tony Robbins times. Why would you want to? That's what I'd like to know. So let's think about this and dissect this a little bit. If an agent is satisfied with using a stager who's not any good, what type of agent do you think that is? So I would say that's probably one that's going to cause problems. If they are willing to accept less for their clients and they're using somebody who does a really poor job in staging, there could be other red flags with that particular agent. And maybe that stager is not very good and they're taking that from the agent because that's what it is that they can get. So one thing that I don't want anybody to do is to constantly be caught up in trying to track down agents that don't get it. I get this is one of the number one questions that we get. How do you convince an agent? I've got this one agent and I want to work with them and they just don't get it. MoveOn.com. That's what I say, ladies. Get it done and get it over with. If they're not interested, move on to somebody who is. This is sales, and sales is a numbers game. And you need to keep track of your numbers and your sales ratios, because you want to be able to figure out, if I talk to 10 people, I know I can book 2 jobs out of that. Think about that. So now you're at a 20% closing rate. So now you're going to bump your goal. Now I want to get to a 30% and a 40% and a 50%. And you use that information in order to set your goals on your sales. So don't focus on the ones that don't want it. Focus on the ones that are open to it. And if you're going to beat your head against a wall with an agent that doesn't get it, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a headache. So Pam's saying, supposing a stager, you, is great at doing a DIY on a dime, does it cheapen your reputation to market that talent? If you mean, Pam, DIY on a dime, I understand the concept of that, but if it's one of those things where you're drastically underbidding everybody else in the industry on something, that's going to be a problem. Number one, it's a problem because you're not likely going to be able to sustain that. But if you're talking about like redesign and you have a lot of great ways for them to be able to save money, then yeah, that's amazing. But if you're looking at trying to save money on certain things, and I'm just going to use a random example, instead of using a real table in the kitchen, use a card table with a tablecloth. That's cheap, should never be done. And yes, that would damage your talent. Walmart bedding, depends on the bedding. There's there's some nice stuff there, but you know, you're not going to put Walmart bedding in a $4 million listing. So you can definitely use things like that, home goods, things like that, DIY on a dime, the redesign. Yes, that's all great because people want to save money that way. So you just know if you are great at it, then I would exploit the crap out of that on your website saying, yes, that's right, I DIY on a dime. Call me in. I'll do a redesign to your living room. I'm going to show you all the ways that you can save money. I know where the discounts are. I know how to get the discounts. I know how to get additional discounts. I know where to shop. I know what sales are, you know, what every store goes on sale, what day of the week. All that stuff is great information for you to be able to market, and I would exploit the hell out of it. But when it comes with the staging, again, if it's something like use this instead of that, and it's really something that's cheap, I wouldn't do that. Any cons for staging over 2 to 3 mornings as opposed to 1 full day? Yeah, let's give a list. So number one, it's not cost effective. So here's why. If you have to go there one time and you stage it, and you shouldn't be staging in a full day, and I'll get to that in a second. Let's say you drive out there one time and you've staged it, it's one and done. You go back home. That's one trip, one fuel, one time you're there. If you go back 2 or 3 times, that's 2 or 3 times worth of fuel. 2 or 3 times you're leaving your home. 2 or 3 times you're doing anything. And 2 or 3 times that you do that, then you're going to have agents and homeowners thinking you are a newbie. There's going to do nothing that screams more that you don't know what you're doing. by doing it over 2 to 3 days. In reality, you should be able to get in your average, 25 square foot, 3-bedroom home. You should be able to stage that in a couple hours. In and out. You need to have efficiencies and your systems, because every second you are out is costing you money. So if you can stage that listing in 4 hours versus 3 days, where did you make more money? Think about that. So if you charge, the same amount of money over that mere time, if the more days that you go into it, the less money you just made per hour. So it's not cost effective to be able to do it. So figure out your systems, packing your truck, unpacking your truck, packing your stuff in bins, labeling your bins. This goes to bedroom number 1. This goes to living room. This goes to the kitchen. So when you deliver all that inventory, when you're unloading, it goes directly where it needs to go. It gets set up where it needs to be set up. And then you take those bins and pack them back away. You're in and you're out as quickly as humanly possible. You've got to be totally investment driven and profit driven. You want to look at all that, and your time is money. Should I offer free or at cost services initially? No. Why? I'll tell you why. Because it screams that you're a newbie. You're just telling people that you're brand new and you don't know what you're doing. A lot of times people have no idea. So let me just run this one past you. On Facebook now, you see all these influencers, come take my class, do this, that, and the other. When you see it, what do you think about those people? You think, oh my gosh, I know what I think. I think, oh, I wish I could do that. But these other people, you're not really looking at them and saying, oh, I bet they're new. You're seeing them for the first time and they're talking with confidence and they're putting it out there. They're putting their product out there, but you don't know that they're new or not. But if you go into a staging situation and you say, well, let me give it to you for free, or, I'm just going to give it to you at cost because I want the experience, you're screaming that you're new. So when somebody meets you for the first time, they don't need to know that you're new. Most people don't ask you, hey, how long have you been doing this? Most of them don't ask that. And even on your website, if you don't have a lot of pictures, you don't need to have a portfolio. That's especially if you're new and starting out, ditch a portfolio page and take the 6 or 7 good pictures that you have of a staging project and sprinkle them throughout your website on the actual pages. Don't put it in a portfolio. Once you establish yourself, then you can add a portfolio. So that's just something to think about there. Do I charge for the furniture rentals and my commission together or separate? And you require 50% deposit and the rest upon completion. Great questions. Do you charge for the furniture rentals and the commission together or separate? People do it all kinds of different ways. The one thing that I don't recommend that you do is I don't recommend that you line item every single thing. So you could say rental. The way I would do it is for the first 60 days, here's the total fee. It includes everything. I'm going to use a round number, $5,000 for the first 60 days. That includes the rental of the furniture and your staging fee, the pickup, the delivery, all of that stuff. It's all on one invoice. Then in that agreement that you're going to give them, then you're going to say the additional rental past 60 days is X amount of dollars. And that way they know if it runs over 60 days, they're going to owe, let's just say $1,000 a month for the rental. Just using round numbers. They may go up or down depending on the price point of the properties that you work on. So that's what I would recommend that you do. Line iteming, I know a lot of people in the beginning used to say, $20 for the lamp, $15 for the bedspread, charging 20% of retail on everything. I strongly discourage you to do that. It's the last thing I think that anybody should be doing. Why? Is because people will nickel and dime you. Do we really need that lamp? Do we really need that over here? Do we really need this tchotchke? Can we just cut it back that way? That's not the way that you want to cut things. So I would put it all into one, present it as a package deal. You're selling your value on everything. And then 50% deposit upon signing, and I would collect the balance 5 to 7 days before the project. I would also recommend that you have a serious cancellation fee and rescheduling fee in your agreement as well. The one thing that you don't want to do, I would not accept 50% upon completion, because anytime you leave your home and you do something and you haven't been paid, that means there's a possibility that you have to chase money. And if your policies and procedures are very crystal clear, you get paid 50% on signing to even get you on the schedule. And then the balance 7 days before the project, you don't have to chase money. It's guaranteed. You're not going to have to, especially if you do it 7 days out. If they wrote a check, it's going to take time to clear. You always want to check that as well if you're getting paid that way. So that's what I'd recommend to do with that. Can you get clients to buy? How do you get the clients to buy the inventory available in a staged home? Let them know it's for sale. So a lot of times this doesn't necessarily happen on your average homes, but when you get into the luxury listings, it actually happens quite a bit. It's one of those things that people will ask. They say, oh, it's, especially if you're there, and they say, oh my gosh, I love everything. Well, if you want it, you can have it. Do you want me to bid this out for you? Give them the price. A lot of times the buyers want it. And then you can work that into a price as well. Things that you're going to want to consider if you're selling your inventory. So you've bought it at wholesale, so you definitely are going to mark that up. And you've also got to think about your time. What is it going to take? How much time do you have to go out and source that inventory again? So it's one of those things that you want to think about when you're starting to sell your inventory to clients or to the buyers, is that, remember, it's going to take you time and money in order to go out and to resource that inventory. An alternative is, if the buyer loves everything it is that you can do, if you don't want to sell that actual inventory, now you can say, hey, no problem, but I actually do redesign, or I do design. I can help you move in and sell them your services that way. Something that you can do. And you already know where everything was sourced at. Hopefully you're going to remember that, and you can actually resource it pretty easily. But sometimes you have to physically go out and shop for something. So you always want to take that into consideration. So use blow up mattresses, but have had issues, and box frames mattresses are too heavy and take up too much room. Any good bed brands or alternative options? Yeah, blow ups, they have a tendency to deflate. There are some better quality blow up mattresses that actually have a pump in them, and you leave them plugged in. And so if they start to deflate, there's a sensor in there, and it just blows it right back up whenever it goes down a little bit. The other thing that people are using are the Zenus. I'm going to spell this out for you. I'll type it in here. Zinus bed frames. These are great. They are foldable, so they fold over, and they are much more lightweight. So you can use those, and they come with a little box frame that you set it on, and then you can put your bedding on top of that. You can you fluff it up. It can look great. Check them out. They're actually on the RESA website. If you go to Stager Resources on the menu and drop down, you're going to see a Home Stagers Toolbox. If you click on that, there will be links to a lot of things that stagers commonly use that we've sourced for you and found them on Amazon. So what is the best way to hang art on the wall without hammering or drilling large holes into the wall? This is easy. Monkey hooks. Monkey hooks. And I'm typing this one in there as well. How does it work to get paid out of escrow? Great question. So there's a concierge program called Zoom Casa. They are a partner of RESA, and they can actually help you do this. There's two ways that you can do this. You can sign up with Zoom Casa. They will vet you. And if they get a lead and they have an agent calls them and says, hey, I need a bid for a stager and tile work in the kitchen. Zoom Casa is then going to call their tile vendor and say, I need a bid on this property in your area. They're going to call you as the stager and says, I need a bid on this property in your area. You're going to go visit the home. You're going to go back to your office. You're going to write up a bid, and you're going to send that bid to Zoom Casa. And you are going to send it to Zoom Casa and not the client, because they're not your client yet. You're a client of Zoom Casa's at that point. So Zoom Casa will take that bid, and they're going to present it to their agent or the homeowner, whoever's calling them. And then that person has the ability to make a decision that they either, one, want it and they want to pay through escrow. If that happens, you're going to do the job, but Zoom Casa is going to pay you up front. That's right. You're going to get paid 100% up front. Then you're going to go do the job, and then Zoom Casa is going to get paid out of escrow. Now, on the flip side, if you have or let's talk about that scenario one more time. Let's say the homeowner says, you know what, I want to do the tile and pay that through escrow, but I will actually pay the stager on my own. Fantastic. You just got a free lead from Zoom Casa. You don't pay a referral fee, or you don't give a kickback of any kind. You're going to get that job. Now, on the flip side, if you have a client and that client says, oh gosh, this is great, but $5,000 is a lot for me right now. Can you take that out of escrow? You can say, absolutely, we can do that. Let me connect you with Zoom Casa. And then you are going to reach out to Zoom Casa and connect them. And then they're going to review the project. And if it's something, there's enough equity and there's enough meat on that bone, they will offer to take that out of escrow. Again, they pay you, you do your job, you use your own contract. Everybody is happy. So let's go over here for a couple more questions. There's a staging couple on YouTube who use their storage bins as bed frames. Yeah, I don't think I would ever do that. I've seen it done. It's one of those things that if it looks okay on the outside, it's one thing, but a lot of people lift up things. It's just not super professional. I wouldn't do it. Jill's asking for occupied. Do you put time limits or having inventory in their home? Only charge by the hour to do the job and wait however long it takes to sell the home to get my inventory back. Absolutely. Change that policy tonight, right now, Jill. What it is that you do it 60 days. Everything should be in an initial 60 days because here's the key. 15 years ago, when we started renting furniture to people and rental furniture companies, they'd say, oh, you have to rent it for 6 months. Well, it's really hard to sell staging to somebody when you're trying to sell it as the home's going to sell quickly and for more money if you stage it, to go out 6 months. But 60 days, that's a nice little chunk of time to be able to get them listed, looked at, offered, accepted, and get them through escrow. So 60 days, that's something that you want to do. Always the initial 60. Then after that, you charge an additional fee for the rental to be able to keep it out there because you're not a lender. You're not a lender. You're in business to be able to make money. So with that being said, when your inventory, if it's taking forever to get back, there's things that you can't control. The price of the home, where it's located. What if it was overpriced? What if they end up taking it off the market and then you're out money. So you always want to put that time frame, get it into your particular agreements. I think that answered that. We had want to cover some information about training. A lot of us, we get questions about training. This is what I want to explain to you. If you have not had training, I strongly recommend that you get it. While I love doing these webinars, there's no way to possibly help you start an amazing, successful business solely based off my advice. I'd like to think I was that great and a bag of chips, but I'm not. So if you look here on this slide, the first 4 logos on the top are our RESA accredited training providers. This means that they've gone through our accreditation program. We've looked through their books, their manuals, their policies, their procedures, even their fiscal soundness, and we've accredited them. The other ones are non-accredited providers. They're our affiliate training providers. We have pre-screened these training providers, which means that we know that they've been in business for X numbers of years, and we've checked all of their references. All the training providers we work with agree to follow a code of ethics and agree to have any disputes resolved amicably. And they also agree that their students can file a complaint against them with RESA, and we'll try to help mitigate that complaint. So important to get training. I cannot express enough. Y'all don't know what you don't know, and a training is going to do a lot of things for you. It is going to shorten that learning curve for you. Another thing that I'd like for you to consider is RESACon. Going to RESACon, July 23rd, 24th, and 25th in Las Vegas. It's an excellent event to go to. The biggest feedback that we get about RESACon from somebody who's new is they wait too long to attend. So even if you're in your first year of business, this is riddled full of information that you are going to want to know sooner rather than later. Check it out, resaconvention.com. You can also get there from our website. Also, anybody that's new to the industry, if you've been in the industry for less than 2 years, we have an award for you. Visit Home Staging Industry Awards. We're actually taking submissions right now. And we have what's called the Rising Star Award. That's for anybody who's been in business less than 2 years. You're going to submit before and after photos of some of your best work in the last 12 months and be voted on. There's also the most influential awards as well. So you can nominate somebody there. You can nominate your real estate agent. That is a free award to be able to enter your top real estate agent. Because think about this, if they can be named as the RESA Real Estate Agent of the Year, they get a press release, they get an award, they get to go out and tell everybody. It's great exposure. This is probably one of the #1 ways that somebody can market themselves in the industry is through accolades, through leadership, get involved in leadership within RESA, and also get an award. We have top 10s in every category. So sometimes the newbie category, what I will tell you, 2 years in a row, I think we didn't have a top 10. Or maybe it was a couple years back. Sometimes we get people that say, oh, I just don't want to do it. I'm afraid, and I'm afraid I'm not going to win. Listen, the last couple years it's the case. Chances are you might just make it into that top 10 because of the lack of people responding. So do it. It's worth it. If you make that top 10, the one thing that we do hear back is people's businesses explode. It helps your credibility, your legitimacy. It adds to your self-confidence, and then you can market the heck out of it and put that out in your immediate world locally and let other people know how amazing you were as well. It is now, we're just at the end of the hour, about 5 minutes over, but I'm happy to stay here and answer any additional questions. If anybody has something, go ahead and type it in that chat box. I will stay here. If not, then we will let everybody go for the night and get you back to your lives. But I do appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to spend with me. I really do enjoy doing these. We have them the first Thursday of every month. Also check out our professional development webinars, all the other things that we do, and also Stager Talk, the Stager Talk talk show that I do. In the next few months, we're going to be interviewing all of the amazing speakers that are going to be speaking at RESACon. This year, we actually have 4 keynote speakers, and Mina Starziak from HGTV, she's going to be on. She's with Two Chicks and a Hammer. She's done a lot of shows. Check her out. You will love her as much as I do. She's going to be coming on Stager Talk soon as well. All right, no more questions. That is it, everybody. Thank you again for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, happy staging.